So again, I'm back with new service in AWS, that is Amplify. So we were already used to automation tools, right? So probably everyone know that in today's gen, most of the codes are being developed by the AI itself, that is bot. So if we just provide the theoretical requirement or the documentation to the board, it will revert us back with the proper code along with the structure, that is file structure. So where, in what, in how it should be kept, in what manner it should be. So likewise, Amplify is one among it, but it do not do all those complete development work, but it has some limitation probably. So where we can save our time by avoiding all those things. So we'll understand what exactly is all about. So okay, so in this session agenda, we're going to see what is Amplify, why do we require Amplify, and some basic commands of Amplify. Along with that, we'll understand by seeing the example. Fine. So let's dive in. So what is Amplify? So AWS Amplify is a platform provided by the AWS designed to simplify and accelerate the development and the deployment of full stack application, particularly those with serverless architecture. So probably we might have already heard in AWS one of the service serverless architecture, that is Lambda function. Even there also we used to run our application without any servers just by uploading the problem string, right? And front-end frameworks. Amplify's offer a suite of tools, libraries, and service that allows developer to build, test, and deploy web and mobile applications. So they are more into, that is, Amplify is more deep dive into deploy web as well as mobile applications with minimal setup and infrastructure over it. Right. So what they are trying to say that what advantage or what benefit if we opt to deploy your static application in Amplify means they have some certain perspectives or possibilities, like something like that. Fine. So the Amplify aims as its own limitation. So we'll try to see all those things in. So we'll just understand what is Amplify as of now. So it's a platform oriented service which provides us to deploy our application without any servers, or that is by setting up the servers or the infrastructure. So based on the traffic flows, everything is taken care by the Amplify itself. So that is provisioning the infrastructure is nowhere having headache by the controller or the SRE. So simply you just need to deploy our application, is that's more than enough. So based on the traffics, automatically the things will taken care by the Amplify itself. Fine. And they are limited to only the static web application as well as mobile applications with minimal infrastructure. So what are the advantages? Why should we? So anyway, we have same features in Lambda too, but why Amplify? So we understand that. So easy of integration, that is safe integration with AWS services. So amplifiers provide straightforward way to connect to backend services like Lambda for serverless functions. So you need not to take care of creating the Lambda functions. So the amplifier itself will read your source code and it will going to create the Lambda functions based on the language you are uploading, and it will create DynamoDB, that is NoSQL database to manage all your CRUD operations. And if you have something to be stored, that is unstructured data, for that purpose we'll be using the S3 here, and we'll be using the Cognito for the authentication purpose. So all these services are taken care by the Amplify itself. Only we need to link our source code. That's all. So rest will be taken care by the Amplify. So just by passing few commands or just by updating the code, we'll show it. So it abstracts many of the configuration steps. So probably, definitely as we have seen, right? So it will abstract the setting up Lambda function, DynamoDB, and linking all these services to the one. Everything is abstracted and built in, right? So making it easier for developer to add powerful backend features. So without needing deep expertise in AWS. Fine. A full stack development with built-in CI/CD. So probably we need to set up that is if you are using the Kubernetes or the Dockers, we need to set up Jenkins to take care, right, as an agent to process or to make things automation. It's a it acts as an agent, right? So likewise in Amplify, they have their own built-in CI/CD things. We're going to see everything. Fine. So Amplify includes hosting the static web application, that is backend services, and the CI/CD pipelines that automates the build and deployment process. So whenever you have made any changes in your GitHub, that is in your repo, so automatically it will trigger and it will redeploy or will going to deploy new version. Fine. So this allows teams to use a unified environment to handle both front-end and back-end components seamlessly and manages the release cycle efficiently. Fine. Next, so focus on serverless and scalable infrastructure. Just as I previously mentioned while explaining what is Amplify. So Amplify is based on serverless infrastructure. So resources are provisioned and managed on demand. So based on the functionality or the reliability scalability things, it will go into provision by itself only. This scalability model keeps cost low. So since if assume that you have only few traffics, for an hour you are getting around 10 to 15 traffics, probably 4 GB of RAM is more than enough to handle that, right? Just an example, right? So only on that case, the certain amount of instance will be taken or will be used. So automatically and gradually by evening it got increased by 100%. Assume that probably it moves to 30 requests per an hour. So automatically based on that requirement, the infrastructure will be provisioned like that. So that's so this scalability model keeps cost low and performance high, particularly for the application with varying levels of traffic. I just mentioned it, right? So with serverless, developer don't need to manage or scale servers as AWS handle it automatically. So we don't need to have an eye on managing the server and managing the storage, everything. Okay. So everything will be taken care by AWS itself. So developer friendly with popular for front-end frameworks. So Amplify offer libraries and supports for popular front-end frameworks like React, JS, Angular, and also mobile frameworks, that is iOS and Android. So that includes tools for authentication. So using these front-end frameworks, we can implement authentication, data storage, API integration, and analytics, reducing the need of developer to manually configure these services. So if you have your problem statement with you, you don't require to have your authentication, data storage, API integration. So these things can be configured using the Amplify. So Amplify Studio for visual development. So if you are not used to CLI mode of Amplify, on that case, we can move on with Amplify Studio for visual development. So Amplify Studio allows developer to build front end visually, connecting UI components to data source with minimal code. So this speeds up the development for prototypes, production application where visual design is center for user experience. So since we'll will be using the Visual Studio. I mean, this one, Visual Design Center, that is Amplify Studio. So we can make out what exactly my application friends and looks, and what are the forms we need to integrate, or what are the items to be integrated. Everything we can make out, and we can modify based on the UI appearance. Even that is also being taken care by the Amplify. So it's quite easy to handle the UI, that is front end. Fine. So we just understand, so what is Amplify, and why do we require it, and what are the advantages, right? So the main advantages of using the Amplify, if we have just the problem statement with us, and we don't require to write, or we don't require to develop authentication linking database or linking the APIs. It's not required for managing the database for authentication. So complete things will be taken care by the Amplify. So here are some Amplify basics commands and how we going to start. So if you are moving with the CLI mode, that is whether you are on your local system CLI mode, or if you are using the Visual Studio IDE for your CLI mode, just have prerequisite, that is you need to have the latest version of Node.js to be installed on your local machine, or if you are using your local machine Visual Studio, or else if you are using the WSL, just do install the Node.js, which is the latest version, along with that the AWS CLI. So probably you might say that we are going already with this. Particularly, we will be installing here by mentioning AWS Amplify /CLI. So instead of this, you can just install the AWS. Thereon, we can start with initializing the Amplify. Fine. So once we are done with pre-requirements, so go with the command npm. This is the Node.js package manager. Fine, install fng, that is global at AWS Amplify /CLI, will install, or will going to create the Amplify CLI environment. So once this got installed, we can go and develop the application based on the requirement. Fine. So next we need to initialize the Amplify project. That is, for that we will be using the command amplify init. In this project directory, initialize the new Amplify projects. So whether you have your own, that is already existing backend thing, means just you need to pass the command like amplify init. This will create another directory called amplify. Inside that, it will going to restructure or reformatize the things based on the standards. Fine. And if you want your raw application or the problem statement application to be having the authentication, that is create or the login or the sign up thing, you can just add amplify add auth. So this command will automatically add the authentication code to your requirement. And if you want to link your API, or if you want to add, or if you want to link your storage, or want to create, so these are the commands we're going to use. So once everything is ready, you can directly use the Amplify push to deploy resources, and Amplify publish deploy the front end to amplifying host. That is, we'll be hosting in the AWS console, that is AWS Amplify. Fine. So here we have few commands. So if you want to check the status of your Amplify, or where it is and what is the progress it is going, just tap amplify status. Will show you what you have added already, and if it is locally configured or deployed, the status, current status will be deployed. So amplify add is nothing but adding the auth API and the storage thing, and the push we have seen, right? And the amplify console, to open the amplify console and view the project status. So publish will going to deploy the thing. Okay. So we'll understand some examples too. So what exactly is all an Ansible handle? So using AWS Amplify, so initializing the Amplify project, that is initially in your local system, that is in your prompt, you need to just pass. Before that, we need to have npm install, that is global AWS Amplify / CLI, that is command line interface. So thereafter, you just pass the Amplify it in your project folder, and this will prompt the configuration your Amplify environment. Fine. And add authentication, that is if you want your application to be secure, just add user login and create authentication by using this. So just by passing this command, it will going to configure AWS Cognito for authentication. Amplify will handle the setting of the Cognito, including options for sign in, sign up, and multi-factor authentication. Fine. So if you want to have database for doing the create operation, so just run this command, will configure GraphQL API with DynamoDB as a database. So again, this will be taken care by the Amplify itself. After this, run Amplify push to deploy the backend resources. So once you have added this feature, so we need to integrate with backend features. For that purpose, we'll be using the push. And if you want to add your storage, you can go on. Fine. And that, so what is the major difference between manual work as well as the amplifier using the amplify thing? So if you wanted to set up the authentication, or if you want to initialize the project, you can just pass the init, so automatically the file structure will be created. Fine. So it will create things like this for you. So if you just pass the init function, and without amplify, if you are going to have your initializing project, means manual setup configuration of each service, that is you need to configure your lambda function, API gateway, storage, database, and if you are using the firewalls, everything, and cognito, everything should be taken care by manually. So but here is taken care by AWS Amplify. So next, if you wanted to integrate authentication to your application, just by passing the Amplify add auth will enabling the authentication by automatically creating and integrating the cognito. Right here, we need to manually configure the things, same as DynamoDB, that is storage, database. But next is integrating CI/CD pipelines and use core pipelines or custom CI/CDs, and total effort fast and streamlined with minimal AWS knowledge. So even though you do not have anything, you do not know nothing about AWS, Cognito, DynamoDB, API, Lambda function, though you can have, that is you can able to create the AWS Amplify. So when you choose to go without Amplify, probably you need to understand how do we going to link each and every services inside, and how should be created, and we should able to manage the infrastructure based on the requirement, everything should be taken care of. So that is the major difference why we should opt for AWS Amplify. So we'll try to understand the example by going through the Amplify document, that is generation 2. So the generation has gone already, and they have come up with gen 2, that is it's quite older one. And also we have version 5, version 6. Getting started, we recommend using Amplify gen 2. So what they are telling is, so gen 1 is extended, so kindly go with gen 2 if you want to learn how exactly the things going to work. So that is what they are telling. So we switch to Gen 2, and here we'll be doing the React project. Fine. So getting started, we'll kickstart. So what exactly we going to do in this documentation means, so they have provided some instruction to do hands-on or to get more familiar with the AWS Amplify. So how we going to integrate, or how exactly it will make difference, like that. Fine. So they are asking us to create the repository. Fine, everything is ready over here. Just you need to follow the procedure. That's all. So later on you can implement with your own project. Fine. So we'll try to create it. So I already won the repository. Probably will try to see here. So this is the repository we're going to create. Fine. So we already have the repository and deploy the starter app. So again, you can either navigate from here also, or if you have already logged into your AWS account, that is console, just move to AWS Amplify or search in global search bar. Fine. So just we'll start with the deployment application. So anyhow, I have the repo in my GitHub. So what I need to do here, just I go with my GitHub repository. So it will prompt me to GitHub. Fine. So here I need to search for the repo. So already since I have used previously, I am getting it. Fine. So or else you can just update the permission. So if you wanted to see all your repository, or if you wanted to see only the repo which you have forked, on that case you can go with a default option. Or if you wanted to see all your repository, just update the permissions here. And here the branch name will be main. So it's nothing but your repo only. So you are creating the repository here inside, or the container, you can say that also. So the name of the application you had given, and the what you exactly are using. And here we will be using the front end build command, that is npm run build for automation thing. Fine. Save and deploy the thing. So I'm going to show you people another one. So just so we'll try to finish this, so later we can see this people. Fine. So I did not create any backend server, or I did not create any, that is my backend server or the network or the URL or the domains, everything, right? I did not create the Lambda function or the APIs. So everything is created by its own. So if you wanted to know the status, what is happening backend, either you can go here, go to cloud formation. This is the old one. Okay. Probably I have already used the latest one. We'll try to delete this and create it from the new. Fine. Just delete it and we'll try to fork this one. And email address. Let it be the public only. Okay. Fine. So we'll go with the initial one. Fine. So if you have your code on any of these hubs or the storage things, you can directly pull it, right? Or else if you have your code in your local system, on that case you can go with this one. So if you have a local system, either you can drag and drop it and it should be in the format of zip only. So even though if you are uploaded in the S3 bucket also, it should be in the format of zip itself. Anyhow, if you have created that is you have created somewhere else and you have uploaded to some drive, X and Y drive, from there if you are copying means, always remember that whatever the things you're going to upload it here, everything should be in the format of zip only. So here I will be using some simple fine. So you can name it anything you want, branch and the. So look at here. So I did not install any of the web servers to host my application, that is .html thing on the cloud, or I did not have any storage thing, or I did not create any any of the supported or the requirements to host my applications. Fine. So just I pass my code. That's all. So it's create me the URL. Hello, I'm from browser Amplify. So this is how it's going to do the things. Fine. And if you wanted to export the backend thing, just go to your branch and how many times you're going to deploy it will going to show you here, and deploy backend resources. If you do not have deployed anything, so you need to manage all these from the CLI itself. So in Gen 1 we have option to have it over here only. So in Gen 2 we do not have, so they have upgraded things and we have to move on with the CLI itself. Fine. So we'll move on and we'll delete this app. We don't want it anymore. So we have already forked the things, right? We'll move on with that. So only this selected thing we're going to have. I don't want all the repository to be visible over here, so just add which is required. So see here, so all the infrastructures are created and linking by their own, and we are not doing anything manually. So everything is taken care by this one. So the first step is they are cloning the repository. Fine. Once it's got cloned, checking the git submodules and all, and setting up the security paths and all, deprecated is fine. So it will take time since it needs to create all the resources. So it will going to create S3, DynamoDB, Lambda, API Gateway, Cognito. So as of now, the Cognito not going to create by default. So by default, it will going to have the Lambda API Gateway and the storage thing. So since we do not integrated initially with any of the authentication, so deployment got cancelled. Probably I don't know what exactly the issue. We'll try to redeploy it. So since it's the repository being pulled from the AWS instructions only, if you people encounter any of the issues while deploying the application, please don't worry anything or don't think that you have made some mistake. So there might be some maintenance issues happening back end, so that could cause the deployment might fail, right? Or it could be of the permissions too if you are using the IAM. Will back once it's got deployed successfully instead of keep waiting here or here. So once it got deployed, it will change the color of this from blue to green. Fine. So once it's got deployed means you have multiple ways to access your application. So either by clicking on here or here, just going inside your branch, even there also you can have the URL to access your things. Fine. So this is the application. So what they have done, only the add operation they had given. So once you hit the new, it will going to add this one. Fine. So it's got added, but we need to recheck, right? So whether it is added or not. So for that we need to visit here and the data manager. See, hello world got added. Fine. So you can delete or you can download however you want. So even the UI based can be done over. And we'll try to see whether it is got created in our database. Just move to database. I haven't created any database, right? So automatically things got taken care by the database. So here we have one table that is to do, and the things already got updated here. So the data whatever I have written there. So we'll try to make out another one. Fine. We'll just refresh the thing. See here. So automatically the back end of linking all these things are being taken care by the AWS Amplify itself. So for that purpose, it takes quite long to deploy the application. So even you can make here the lambda is also created, the API. See here. So the lambda function for these and the other table, all these things. So assume that you have application like this, so which will allow you to add the things and either by to delete or any of the resources. So you have a basic application. So you need to secure your data. That is whatever the data you're going to store inside this application. If you want to secure it, you just want to add the authentication and wanted to make differentiate. Alright, so who has added this, who has modified or who has accessed the data. Everything if you wanted to know, you should have the authentication thing, right? So what we did, just fork the repo and we deploy the application, and we can able to manage the data and we just view the data, right? So where it is located and all. So let us go and we'll try to make it locally. That is if I want to add the authentication, we need to move on with the thing. Fine. So what they are telling is, so kindly download the deploy backend resource of the output JS format function, so that whatever the things you're going to add, your authentication or the CRUD operations, storage, everything will get updated in this file and it will be again transmitted to our repo. From there automatically it will redeploy the things. So we'll go and download that. So probably need to get into your branch, from there deploy backend resources. See here what are the resources got created. It created the lambda function, IAM role, set up the function, that is IAM roles, user role. It already created the authentication thing, but we do not have that access as of now. We'll try to download this file. Fine, we just download the file and they are asking us to clone the repo to our local repository. Fine, we'll clone it. We just move and we'll copy our repo path and we'll try to open the VS code. Maximize it. Fine. So we clone. just I logged into my thing. Okay. So automatically, so whatever the file structure I had inside my GitHub repository, it got cloned to my local, right? Successfully, we'll can able to make out like this screen. Fine. So we'll clear it out for better visibility. So anyhow, we have installed this, and now they are asking us to navigate inside the structure. Fine. So anyhow, we do not have here the delete options, so we can able to only create, and we do not have delete option, right? So we need to add the delete option. So that is what they are telling. So implement the delete functionality. So they are asking us to navigate source followed by the API tst file. So we'll try to navigate there. Source in txt. Fine. Now they are asking us to add this function inside the app function. We'll try to add that. So here we can see the app. So here we have create. Next we will have the delete function. Along with that, we need to add where we should be adding inside the list items. So we'll navigate to list items. Here we have paste and make it out. Fine. So we had it, then they are asking us to run, and we'll try to run whether can be able to make out or not. So that command will lead to run your application locally. So now my application got, that is my application is running in localhost, and we'll try to access it. So while accessing your application locally, if you have encountered any of the issues, can able to make out in the Visual Studio prompt itself. So it will throw you back with the error. So what exactly you are going on. So one thing we have forgot that here. So why we are getting this error means, so it's telling that we are not able to locate the output file amplify underscore output.json. So we just downloaded from the cloud, right? That is Amplify backend development here. So we did not copy that to our working directory. So we'll copy and we'll move here and we'll paste it here. Fine. Okay. Now it's available here. Yeah. So we'll try to terminate this session and clear the screen, and we'll run it again. So now we can able to access our application. So previously we added two things, right? So we'll try to delete any of this by clicking. So automatically this got deleted. So if you want to, since we are running locally, so it not get updated over here. We'll try to see whether yes, it's got updated. So the data which was existing here got deleted. So we'll try to add in the cloud man. So now it is added. We'll try to see that whether we can able to see. Yes, fine. Now we just added the delete function and we run. Fine. Now implementing the UI part. Fine. We'll try to add the UI. So to integrate the UI part, where should I log in? Navigate source main. Fine. We'll try to src main file, and here we have work. So we'll try to combine these, save. So now I just integrated the UI part, right? So we need to add that part. In what we'll try to add that in. So we just added the UI configuration thing, but we did not mention what we added or what changes we added there. So for that we have to copy it, and it should be in the source app. So we'll navigate back to app and we'll add this, and they are asking us to add the sign up button where it should be constant app. Okay, here I should add it, and the constant button should be added. Fine, so we just added, and we'll try to rerun it to make the changes. Fine, so we do not have any authentication. Find the application hosted. So previously we could not, we do not have the option called sign in, create. We don't have security, right? So now we'll try to create. For this you need to use proper mail ID, since you will be getting the OTP for authorization. So I did not do any of the coding for all those things. So just I followed their source code and just integrated few lines to have this UI. Fine. So I already received the verification code. Okay. So we have integrated the authentication with the UI1. So we have just created the account and we have the access to this. And here you people might have observed that we can able to access all the data. So if other person has added the data, even I can able to make out here. But I need to have more security to my data. So what should I do? So just I integrated the login as well as the sign out button here. So if I drop the sign out, it will prompt me back to this one. Fine. So here we do not have anything since I have not deployed or I have not uploaded my code in the Git since I am testing everything locally. So fine. Now we have done the things here. Fine. So what they are asking, so just push the things to the GitHub. Automatically it will redeploy the things. Observe here in cloud we do not have the login thing. So only the directly whenever I launched or whenever I hit the domain, that is URL, so I can able to access my application. But in local I have the access button, so I need to make it here also. So it's working good here, so I need to deploy it here and I need to test it for here. So I will push things to. So git commit iframe, that is message adding authenticate, and so it will going to commit the changes. Okay, so it will commit the changes to the GitHub repo. So here I need to provide the credential, so let me provide it and back. So the things got pushed to my GitHub repository and we'll try to see what exactly the CI/CD built in amp wants by the amplify. Fine. See here already the another version is getting deployed since my code, whatever the code I have pushed to my repository, got updated and from webhook, so it is got notified and got triggered. So it is deploying the newer version of the application, so which has UI called authenticate. Fine. So if you wanted to make over the difference between the user as well as the common data, so we need to have the authorization here. So by adding this authorization icon, that is object by calling the owner, so we can make the difference and we can hide the data or the sensitive information from one user to the another user. So we won't let other user to access the data of X user like that. We'll see whether it is got deployed or not. No, it's taking time. So we pause for the moment and we'll get back. So now the newer version of the application got deployed. We'll try to access that. So initially we have this one. We'll try to refresh whether we can able to see here. So in cloud also we can able to access the things. So we'll try to access with the old credential whether we can able to get in or not. Yes. So probably we can make out. So if you just come back to your application and just go into your branch, and here we have option of UI. If you want to check your CRUD operations, go to your store data, and if you wanted to access your any unstructured data, you will just go to storage, and if you wanted to see how many users are registered here, you can just move on to the authentication. See here. So there you can able to delete this one, suspend or activate anything you can do as an admin privilege. So fine. So now we just updated the UI thing for the authenticator purpose. So what if you are trying to do any changes to your backend things, that is your problem statement. If you are adding some additional things to your problem statement and it was working well in the local environment, so once after pushing your code to your cloud or the production thing, so if you encounter some issues, will it create a problem? Definitely it will going to create a problem and it will affect your business model, definitely, right? So to overcome all those things in every organization or the development team, we have the keyword or the environment called sandbox, which will allow all developers or the testers to test how exactly the production branch will work. Like that only it will going to work then. Fine. So we'll deploy this and we'll test after integrating the this one, that is the backend. Okay. So now they are asking us to make changes in the spark, that is amplify data and resource. We'll move there and we'll try to locate. So now we need to move inside the amplify and data and the resource.ts. Fine. So here we need to add this one. So we should be add. So probably okay. See your authorization allow here public API key. Instead of public API key will be owner. Fine. And export schema, everything looks good, and we need to add user port. So instead of API key there we need to add user port. We are done with this file and we will move on to app.txt. So in app.txt we will be adding the user authenticator. Fine, constant. So for sign out we have another one. We just try to optimize the things. Fine. In one line itself. Just and we need to add this one. So probably they are telling the user thing, right? So we add here, we'll try to add. Now things looks good and we'll try to push this code to the sandbox. Fine. Even this will also take some time since I am using the WSL inside my Windows, that is in root directory itself. All other some processes are running backgroundly which prompts us to slow down the system. So It will take some time and will show you well once it got sexy. And while running this command, you might encounter many of the issues during the execution of this command. So try to install the required dependencies and try to have the Node.js the latest version. Fine. So to avoid any of the lack of dependencies during the execution. So what exactly this command is doing right now means, observe here. So without pushing my code to the GitHub repository, I can able to have inside my application. How is it possible means, so if I make any changes inside my GitHub, so automatically it will got redeployed with the another version, can be make out inside this branch. So if you wanted to make any differences on that case, you can just move to here, manage sandbox, right? So here it will get deployed and you can able to access the things. Fine. We'll try to have once it's got things, and we have an option called monitoring system. We can able to access the log, what is happening, why you are getting errors, and you can set alarms based on the requirement, everything. So here the infrastructure utilization will be get in the metric format, and we'll try whether it is running or not. Then provide for 3 hours. So every 1 minute it will refresh and it will get us. So we can try to access the log here. We can make out here also. And if you want your own custom domains to be reported, you can just register your domain in Route 53 and get it linked over here. So custom headers, environmental variable, monitoring, images, swap review. It will take some time. We'll resume once if we can able to make out here something. So you can make out here. So it got just reflected. That is, your sandbox is working fine and it is reading the output file of this one, amplify output of .json file. And by looking into this file, it will push whatever the thing by running the npm. So let me show you people. Look here. So the npx amplify box sandbox command should run concurrently on your system, that is npm run dev. So it will automatically run once after running the sandbox command, and we'll try to make out whether any changes are happening here or not. So still it is not updated and we'll wait for me. So now we can make out the command which we have run is creating the resources there. We can see all those in sandbox. See here, it's getting deployed. So you have option to access from here also, or you can move inside your application and then able to access from here to. So we'll try to understand so what they have conveyed here. Fine. So to update your backend without affecting the production branch, use Amplify's Cloud Sandbox. So this features provides a separate backend environment for each developer on a team. So it will have different environment and ideal for local development and testing. Fine. To start your cloud sandbox, so run the following command in new terminal. So what exactly it is going to do here is means, so whatever the code you have deployed will be integrated with all the resources of the infrastructure. So from local you're going to deploy it, right? So you can able to make out the changes. So to do all those things, once it's got updated in the testing, and by integrating all the things to your database, directly you can push it to your repo and make your production live by integrating the features. Still it's deploying. Yes, it's got deployed. So it's automatically got sign in, will sign out from this one. Look here, still we can able to see all those data, right? So if somebody has added like user one, user one, okay. So we have updated the things locally, and if you don't want to see it in notice anymore, you just click and so and so. Just ignore all these things. Fine. So file return. So this file got updated. Okay. So we'll come out of from the sandbox. And would you like to delete all the resources in your sandbox? This cannot be under same no. And we'll clear it. And we'll try to fine. We'll try to commit it and push it, and before that we'll try to run that. Let's run. So we have already made some changes, right? We should be able to make out. Here we do not have any user pre-authentication has been taken hold here. So we'll try to make out whether we can able to have the pre-authentication. In we have updated the backend code, right? We'll try to okay. Okay. We'll try to make out what is the issue. We have this ID volume, but still we could not able to. Okay, we'll try to create with the same ID. So it is it has again sent me the verification code since we have modified the policies backend, right? Okay, so you can able to make out the username. Fine. So now the data or the information got updated, and but you cannot make out here probably. See here, so we cannot able to make out the data here. Fine. So where we can cross verify or where we can get those data, I'll show you where you can locate those things. Just navigate to your database, that is DynamoDB. There, put on the explore table. So here we can see two tables. So in this table we have all common data, so without user, but in this table we have only accuracy data. Fine. So automatically the another table got created. Inside the table I can store this all data. So if another user got created, automatically the another table will create in their ID and it will follow the same. So this is how the things will going to happen when we try to update our backend things. So just by pushing our code to the sandbox, automatically the that is amplify underscore output JSON file got updated and will perform all the operations when we run the app locally. Fine. So this is how you're going to test your application without affecting the production app. See, this is not what affected. So we'll try to do this. Again, it is prompting me for the username as well as password. Okay, just I pushed my changes to the repo and automatically the auto build got executing here. See here. So the building is in progress. So always remember that unless until you are actually deploying your application, you just keep the resources running. So else, if you are doing it for your own hands-on experience, once you are done with the procedure, just try to terminate all the things. Fine. So to avoid unnecessary charges from the cloud provider. Fine. So now we don't require these. We'll try to. Fine. We done with the documentation too, and we are also done with these things. We need only this one. So once it got deployed, we'll try to make out. So now the deploy got completed at 2:58, and we'll try to access that application. Okay, so we can able to access the application even from the cloud also. Fine. Probably you might may wonder that previously we have created some data and it is not visible here, right? We'll try to refresh it, or we'll try to access it again. We'll make out. So probably now you can able to view the data that once in the cloud environment. So why this was created? So since we deployed the things in the sandbox, right, and we tested it, right? So for that purpose it got created, and here you can able to see. So I have conveyed the people wrongly, so just correct me, right? So this table got created for the testing purpose, which got deployed over the sandbox, and this is your primary database of your application. And here we have the owner id. So by just clicking into the owner id, we can make out, or we can able to find the identification who has created what. So the id you might going to get it over here. So what, it is abstracted here. Fine, we'll try to add another one. So it is getting added here. Fine. If you want to, if you have used this API, probably you can able to this. Since we have used the REST one, this is, so this is all about the Amplify, AWS Amplify. So we just saw, right? So from simple application, we have just make a huge difference by integrating the UI, by integrating the CRUD operations. We just add the delete one, we can add update, modify, like that. Okay, and also we have added the pre-authentication. So we just return only the few lines of code which by importing the libraries from Node.js, right? So by just modifying the few things, we can have huge difference in the application. So thus avoid the time we go and invest on developing the script and linking those things, right? So that is why we use AWS Amplify to achieve all those things. So let me delete this application. I don't want it anymore. And always we ensure that check your DynamoDB as well as Lambda, S3 bucket, everything. Fine. So okay. So can we able to make out the, so it will take some time to destroy all the resources which got created or which is associated with that application. Okay, so that's all. So thanks for being a part of this session. Thank you.